Welcome to Donzi Tech. In this tutorial, I'll just talk about the basics of JavaScript and then how you can add JavaScript to an HTML document. Okay, so before I get started, I'll just create a folder on my desktop here. I'll name it JS for short. Okay, that's JavaScript. Okay, but I can give you a folder any other name you prefer, but I choose to name it JS. And I'll open this folder with my text editor. I'm using VS Code. Okay, so you can equally open it with any other text editor you prefer. And then right from here, you can see we have the option to create a new file or add a new folder. So I'm just going to create a new HTML file. So I'll name the file index.html. .html is just a file extension for HTML files. Okay. So once you create your HTML file, in VS Code, you can write exclamation and then it will just generate the HTML5 structure for you. Okay. You can equally write HTML and then you select 5. And it will also generate the same HTML5 structure for you. So you don't need to retype everything from scratch. Okay. So here I'll just change the title to JS lesson. Okay. And then inside the body tag, I'm going to add some few HTML elements. Okay. So I'll just use the H1 here. This is a short JS lesson. Okay. So from here you can run your live server. So you can see we have our H1 tag here, and then the title we just changed. Okay. So here you can add JavaScript to your HTML document by using the script tag. Okay, you can use the script tag to add JavaScript to your HTML. Okay, so here you can write any valid JavaScript code and it will still work. Okay, so I'm just going to alert something to the screen. So alert. Okay, right. This is working. Okay, so if I run this in my browser, so you can see we have the alert here. This is working. Okay, that's how you can add JavaScript to your HTML document. So you can choose to use a script tag here. With a script tag, you can either keep it in your body tag or inside the head tag of your HTML document. Okay, so equally let me write the same code here. This is working. And so if I run it, you can see I still get the same response. Okay, so with the script tag, you can choose to keep it inside the head tag of your HTML document or right inside your body, the body tag of your HTML document. So anywhere you keep it will work. Okay, and then the next way is to just create an external JavaScript file. Okay, so here let me name it main.js, but I can choose to give it any name you prefer. But I mostly use main.js to name my main JavaScript files. Okay, and then inside your HTML document, just like you do with a CSS file, you need to use the link tag to add CSS to your HTML document. With JavaScript, you need to use the script tag. Okay, so here script tag, you can select SRC, or you can still type SRC once you add your script tag. I said this SRC just means the source for your JavaScript file, just like you do with an audio tag. Within the SRC attribute, this is where you write the source of your audio file. So in the same way for the script tag, between your SRC here, that's where you write the source for your JavaScript file. So here it's just in our root directory. So I'll just do main.js. But in case you kept your JavaScript file inside a different folder, you need to specify the path to that folder before you can get access to your JavaScript file here. Okay. So here you can write the same JavaScript code. So this is working. So now if I go back to my browser, you can see I still have the same output. This is working. Okay, so you can choose to use a script tag inside your HTML document, or you can create an external JavaScript file and then you link it to your HTML document. Okay, now the next thing to look at is how you can select HTML elements inside of your JavaScript. Okay, with JavaScript you can get the HTML element in your JS by using the tag name, the class name, or the ID. Okay, so in JavaScript we have this functions. Okay, so let me just give you an example here. Let's say new is equal to let's say h1 is equal to document dot we have get element by ID. Okay, So this means it's going to select the element by an ID. So in your HTML, you can give it an ID here. So you can see heading. So let's give this H1 a heading of an ID of heading. Okay. So now I'm going to select the heading inside our HTML document. Okay. So now let me try to console log this. So console log just shows your JavaScript code inside the console of your browser. Okay. That's why we have console.log. So just show it inside your browser's console. Okay. So now let me right click and select inspect. This is how you can get access to the console. Okay. And then from here you can click on console. So here you can see we have the HTML element rendering inside our console here. That's because we have selected this H1 element by the ID inside our HTML document here. Okay, so here if I change it to class, if I change this to a class here, you'll see I wouldn't get any output here. I get now. Okay, but then if I use the same here, if I use the same thing here, but this time I need to change it from getting the element by the ID. So you can do get element by class name. Okay, and then you can see we have the heading tag here. Okay, we have the h1 element with the class. Okay, so you can choose to get the element by the ID or get it by the class name. Okay, get element by ID. Let me change this back to ID. Console.log. Okay, refresh. All right. Now the next thing to look at is the query selector. Okay, so you can equally get elements by using the query selector. So document.query selector. Now with the query selector, you need to specify whether it's an ID or a class. So just like you do in your CSS, when you are selecting an ID, you use an hashtag just like you do in the CSS. So here I'll just write heading. Okay, you need to make sure the ID you are selecting is the same thing you have here. So if you don't want any errors, you can just copy the IDs directly from your HTML and then you paste it inside your JavaScript so that you don't run into errors. Okay, so this with this time to you can see we have the heading here. Okay, still have the heading tag here. Okay, similarly if you use a class here instead of the ID, so let's say class, here you need to change it from an hashtag to a dot. Okay, let me save the HTML here. So here too you can see you get the same output, but this time around I selected with the class name. Okay, so depending on your preference, you can choose to use the query selector or get the element by the ID or the class name. And then we also have get element by tag name. Okay, so here you can pass the tag name. That's an h1 tag. Okay, this is an h1 tag. So it will also select the h1 tag for you. Okay, so depending on what you are doing and then your preference, you select the one which suits the program or function you want to write. Okay, now let's move on to how you can display content to your HTML. Okay, with that we have the dot. Let me first select the h1 again. Okay, let me use a class ID. Okay, let me just change that back to an ID. So here I can create a variable here. Let's say let. You can choose to use var to create a variable in JavaScript or just use let. Okay, either of them will work. So let's say var h1 go to document dot query selector. Let me use get element by ID. Okay, so when you use the get element by ID, you don't need to specify the hashtag. Okay, it will automatically know you are selecting an ID, so you can just pass in the ID of that particular element inside of your JavaScript. Okay, so let me console log this to see whether it's working. Okay, so anytime you want to check the progress of your JavaScript or any errors or how your function is running in your program, you can use the console to actually view the status of your code. Okay, so you can just console log that and then you can see it's rendering correctly. So now you can move on. Okay, so here you can use the inner HTML. Okay, so the inner HTML will just change the text you have here. Okay, you can change it to something new. Let's say this is the new heading. Okay, so you can see from our JavaScript, we're able to manipulate our HTML element here. Okay, so you can see here we have this is a short HTML lesson, but on our browser we are seeing this is the new heading. That's because we have selected this element, then passed it through our JavaScript here, and then from here you get access to the .inner HTML. The .inner HTML means you can assign any string to any value at all, like any value at all to your HTML. Okay, so you can even make this an integer, let's say 100. It will still update it to 100, so you can either pass any value you prefer to the HTML document. And then anytime you use this sign here, it means you can pass another HTML element. Okay, so here you can do, let's say, p tag here, and then when you use this, it means you can even pass the dollar sign and then the name of the variable. Okay, so with this signs, it allows you to pass variables to the HTML element. Okay, let me add some text here. This is a simple variable from the JS file. Okay, so you can see we have this is a simple variable from the JS file, and then the variable we added. So anytime you want to pass a message to the HTML element and then you want to add some values from your JavaScript, you can just use this sign here, and you need to bring the dollar sign, two curly brackets, and then just pass in the variable. Okay, it can be any value, not necessarily being a number. Okay, so if I save this, you can see it still pass the message to the HTML document. Okay, that's how you can manipulate your HTML element. Okay, so another way of rendering content to your HTML document is through the alert. Okay, so you can use an alert to show a message to a user on your web page. Okay, maybe this is working. Okay. So anytime you run your browser, you can see you have the message, this is working. Okay, and then we talked about the .inner HTML, that's sending messages, or let's say HTML elements, strings, integers, any value at all to your HTML file here. Okay, so you can use the .inner HTML to replace, let's say here we have the message here, this is a short JS lesson. Okay, so the moment we select the HTML element here, and when we say .inner HTML, any value you place here is going to replace the existing one. Okay, that's how the .inner HTML works. Okay. And then with the alert tool, it will just show the moment you run your program, okay, or anyone visits your website, the first thing that will show is the alert. Okay, this is working. Okay, and then you have the console.log. Okay, you can use the console.log to check the errors or anyhow your program is running. Okay, so you can see console.log. Maybe let me console.log the h1 element here. Okay, so that's to test your program. If you are doing any testing, you can use the console to check everything. Okay, then you can see your JavaScript code is actually running cool. All right, and then we have the document.write. Okay, so document.write. Okay, so here too you can pass a string. Okay, so you can see we have that here. All right, so basically those are the ways you can add messages of HTML element or any value at all you can pass to your HTML element. Okay, now the next thing is to add click event. Okay, so for you to add a click event to your JavaScript, let me just create a button here. So this button, I'm going to name it click. Okay, I'm not going to do any CSS to start this button. This just demonstrates how the click event will work in your JavaScript program. Okay, So just like we selected the HTML, the H1 element here, you can equally select the button element. Okay, so basically they are the same way. So you can choose to give this button an ID. Maybe let me give it an ID of BTN, or you can choose to give it a class of BTN. In the same way, you can choose to use the name of the element button to style it inside your JavaScript file. Okay. But the moment you use button to add a JavaScript property, it means that all the buttons inside your HTML document are going to have that same functionality. Okay. So to avoid any errors, you can choose to give it a class or an ID to be on the safer side. Okay. So here I can create a new variable. I'll just name it btn. Okay. And document dot get element by ID. And then I'll just pass in the ID of the button to btn like this. And then here I can add the event listener to the button. So btn dot add event listener. And then we want a click event listener. Okay. And then after that you can write a function here. And then maybe you can console a message to, you can do console log a message. Okay. So this for testing. Okay. And let me pass this message clicked. Okay. So if you open your console again here and you click on the button, you can see you have the message popping up here, clicked. Okay. Now you can see the click event is working. So now from there, you can use the alert to show a message. Okay. So anytime you click on the button, you want to show a message, maybe today is my birthday. Okay. So here, anytime you click on the button, you get that message, today is my birthday. Okay. And then you can equally manipulate the h1 element anytime you click on the button. Okay. In the same way, you can do h1 dot inner html is equal to, maybe you want to change the html element. Okay. So you want to put, let's say, let me see, an h4 element. So you can put the same h4 element here, and then it will work. Okay. This is an h4. Okay. Let me save this. So if I go back to my browser and then click on it, you can see we have the new element here. This is an h4. Okay. The button was clicked. It's taking time to load. Okay. So if you click on the button, you can see the message changed. The button was clicked. So that's how you can add a click event to your HTML element. Okay. And you can even add CSS directly from your JavaScript. Okay. So h1 dot styles style dot, maybe you can change the color. Let me change the color to, let's say, red. Okay. So you can see anytime I click on the button, the color changes to red. So you can even add CSS from your JavaScript anytime you click on the button or anything. So you can change the color to, let's say, green. Okay. If you click on the button, you can see the color changes to green. That's how you can add click events and then even CSS properties directly from your JavaScript. Okay. Then here, let me do something cool here. So if I say this means the button you are clicking on. Okay, so I can add a style to the button. So I'll just change the width to, let's say, 200 pixels. Okay. So anytime you click on the button, I'm just changing the width to 200 pixels. So you can see the moment I click on the button, the width changes to 200 pixels instead of the default width of it. You can manipulate everything. So the moment you use this, just like in Python write self, the moment you use this, it means that the button you have actually clicked on. Okay, so this is how you can add styles to your HTML documents. Okay, so the next thing to talk about is variables. Okay, so variables are just containers to store data values. Okay, so in your JavaScript file here, you can see we assigned a value to it. The value is just an HTML element. So in the same way, you can have a value directly from your JavaScript. Maybe you can say var num1 is equal to, let's say, 50. Okay, you can have var num2 is equal to, let's say, 100. Okay, we have created a variable to store the value 50 and then num2 to store the value of 100. Okay, now let me take this off. We are going to add some few JavaScript functions here. Okay, so here I can create a new variable called result, but before that, let me just console log these things. Okay, let me just say console.log num1. You can add the addition operator here, and then it will add num1 and then num2. So I'm just showing that result inside my console. Okay, so now let me open my console here. So anytime I click on the button, you can see it will add the two variables here, so num1 plus num2. So you can see we have 150 here. You can equally change this to a different value here. So let's say 200. So if I click on that, you get 300. That's 200 plus 100. We have 300 here. Okay. In the same way, you can choose to use the multiplication here. So to do that, we use the asterisk. So this will multiply num1 by num2. Okay. And then anytime I click on the button, it multiplies those and then it will give me the result. Okay. And then if you need division, you need to use the forward slash. That will divide num1 by num2 and then to give you the result. So let me click on the button here, and then you see we have 2. Okay. And then the last one is the subtraction. So just use the hyphen there. Right. When I click on the button, you can see we have the result here, 100. That's 200 minus 100, you get 100. Okay. The same way, you can create a different variable to store, let's say, a message. And then with the message, you can keep it inside a string. Okay, so a string is just a sequence of characters. Okay, and then you can choose to use a single quote. So let me say this is a message. Okay, and you need to bring a semicolon. That will end this line of code for you. Okay, so let me create a different one. But here, let me use the two quotation marks. Okay, this is a message with two quotes. Okay, so now let me comment this out and then console.log the message 1 and then the message 2. So you can choose to pass different variables by separating them with a comma. Okay, so if I click on the button here, you can see we have the first one. This is a message, and then this is a message with two quotes. Okay, let me take this to the next line. Okay, console.log message 2. Okay, now it starts from the new line for us to see. Okay, so this is the first one. This is a message, then this is a message with two quotes. So you can see there's no difference with them. So you can choose to use a single quote or a double quote, and then you wouldn't run into any errors. Okay, just like you do with Python, you can choose to use a single quote or double quote. All right. So basically, this all about the few things you need to know about JavaScript to get started with writing JavaScript code. Okay. So if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section below, and then I'll reply you as soon as possible. Okay. And then if there's any tutorial you want me to work on, you can equally leave that as well in the comment section below, and then I'll work on it for you. All right.